Welcome to the CultCast show. My name is DJ Zassine and I'm your host. Joining me is Maka and Sigzan. First of all, we want to thank you all for listening in and giving your feedback on our pilot episode, Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice. If you haven't heard it yet, you can go back and listen to that and then come and rejoin this one. We're still working out all the kinks to bring you the very best podcast out there, so we really do appreciate all the feedback that you guys give us on Facebook, social media, and in the comments section. This week, we're covering The Jungle Book and Disney's wider plans for its live-action adaptation franchise. If you've not noticed, over the past few years, Disney have gone back to their animated classics and they are live action adapting them into big blockbuster films, and The Jungle Book is the latest in a line of live action adaptations, starting really with Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, which is also getting a sequel. So I'll get things started with The Jungle Book and a bit about the film.
Directed by Jon Favreau, The Jungle Book is Disney's second attempt at a live-action version of Rudyard Kipling's controversial book series, using 3D technology and CGI, and taking inspiration from both the books and the 60s animated film. The story follows feral Indian boy Mowgli, played by Neil Sethi, raised by wolves in the jungle as he escapes from the dreaded Shere Khan looking for a new home. So, Mako, what did you think of the film?
To tell you the truth, I was a little underwhelmed by the film in itself. It was an enjoyable, hour and a half, 2 hours, but I didn't come away feeling anything other than, that was a decent film.
At the end of it. What about you, Sixan?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thought it was a very good film.
As host, obviously, I've got to stay impartial between these two guys, but I also have my own opinion. I agree with Sixan. I did enjoy the film. I thought it was way better than it needed to be, and compared to other recent Disney live-action remakes, this was probably the strongest so far. And I thought it was good. I think it could have been better.
I'm not saying I didn't like it. I just felt underwhelmed by the experience.
That's fair, but I didn't think it was as big or momentous as it could have been. But let's first focus on what worked. So, what about you, Sixan?
Yeah, I loved it. I really did. I really liked the mood and tone, just like Maka said, and also I like the style, that the way it's done. It's almost like a mix between fairy tale and childhood memory. It's and the animals are all larger than life. I know that's part of the story, but for me, that seemed like a way a young feral child would interpret the world around him. When he's memorizing it. But Christopher Walken was great. I really liked that. I loved the way that incorporated some of the songs.
Yeah, I like the way he did his songs.
Yeah, all of the songs were good. Bill Murray as Baloo was funny. The jokes hit the right spot. Overall, as a family fantasy, I really, really enjoyed it, and I also like the gothic elements. It remind me of Walt Disney. Sort of Pinocchio had that sort of that dark undertone in it as well, which I really enjoyed. Thoroughly, and I hope Disney make more of these. To be honest, yeah, I really do. I don't think that like with every franchise, it's going to have its hit and misses. But Cinderella was good, and this was good. And this is the best way to go about this realization. Now they have the technology to turn these Disney classics into movie form.
Yeah.
I think it's a good move by Disney. It's a clever move, really. It's almost like they've learned from having Marvel Studios.
Possibly, but I think this is a good way to bring in both the adult and child to see films like this. Because if I see a Disney animated film, I'm not really appealed to it. But you bring in something like this where it incorporates CGI and live action, and you get people in it like Christopher Walken and Bill Murray, I'm going to be more inclined to go and see something like that.
Yeah,
than in straight up animation like Zootropolis. Am I right in thinking that this ain't the first live action attempt at the Jungle Book? Because I'm pretty sure there was a Jason Scott Lee version.
Loads of them, isn't there?
Live action. This is Disney's second. So there was the first time they did Jungle Book was in 1994. But that was based on the second Jungle Book
he was
book.
An adult, wasn't he?
So
yeah, more on the Bruce Lee.
Yeah, so it's kind of that was a sequel to the original cartoon, sort of, very loosely, but it wasn't a massive success. So no one's even really referred to it in the press for this new one. But it's so. I mean, for me, what worked, the main thing that worked were the technical aspects. So obviously, this film comes after Avatar, and so uses pretty much the same technology that film used. They say live action, but actually it's about 75% animation. Even the landscapes are CGI. So that's how visually they're able to kind of do things that haven't been seen before with animals. And, some of the shots are just absolutely stunning because you've not seen animals like that before. I think the main thing that worked for me, and I think it needs to be really credited, is the young boy, Neil Setti. He's the only live action element in most of the film, and he's single-handedly had to carry the film. He's the only thing that gels every single bit together. Normally child actors don't have that ability, especially ones which are about 10, 11, 12 years old. So he's not an experienced actor. This is his first film role. I think Jon Favreau cast a very good child actor for the role. I don't necessarily agree with him being American because it kind of, for me, took away a little from the fact he was meant to be in India and the film was in India. But I thought he was strong. He wasn't the best actor, but he did a competent job. And you believed that I believed he was interacting with the animals, when in reality they're just, balls on stage.
I kind of disagree with the idea that, saying that he's good because it was good for a child to perform, because I think it's easier for children to perform with things like that because they have a better imagination. For a grown adult, you often see actors complaining, especially like experienced thespians, saying that, oh, I was just on set with a tennis ball and I really had to try hard to imagine it was a dragon, but for a child, I think it's more natural for them, because they have like a big imagination anyway.
You don't think he did a good job?
I think he did a really good job, but I think child actors are very good in those situations, and also again with child actors, I think in my experience, I'd say it's usually a hit and miss with a child actor. They're usually awful or they're really good. Sometimes they're the best. It just comes natural to them. But
you can't be Haley Joel Osment all the time.
Yeah, but it was a very good performance by a boy. It was and
see, I'm going to be a bit controversial here and say no, it wasn't.
Okay, we're going to go now into what didn't work. So
for me, what didn't work was the little boy, because I thought he was. Yeah, I just didn't. Right, he was very. I know I'm going to sound like a right. I can't say the word. I can't. I sound like a right bastard, but he was. I thought he was wooden. And in the bit where he sung along with Baloo, he was pitchy, and it's like, do you know what? Back in the day when you got proper child stars, you would have had none of that.
I do think Maka has a point here. The quality of Disney child actors has dipped in the last 5 years, but that's kind of external factors. Disney used to have probably the best R&D department for actors. If you think about all the actors that they've launched the careers of, Ryan Gosling, Justin Timberlake, who's kind of a thing of an actor. Even I'm saying even the more recently,
like Judy Garland and people like that.
Yeah, but okay, fine. But I'm more about more recently.
That's what I mean. Way back when you had to have proper talent to get in, not just be a pretty face or anything.
So you think Ryan Gosling's not proper talent?
Before the boy played Moby, he had a pretty face.
No,
Ryan Gosling's got where he is because he's an actor.
Yeah, I don't think he's that good. I think he's mainly floated by the way he looks. There's a lot.
Well, if it was based purely on the way he looks,
I'm just saying that he didn't work for it. So.
Okay, well, anyway,
I don't know why
Disney. I do think that he was bitchy though, but I don't think he was trying to launch a singing career.
Yeah, no, but if you're doing a musical number, you should be able to.
I really do. Well, okay.
But so even Bill Murray, he couldn't hold a tune.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt. I know we'll go to Sixan, but let me just say it. So what didn't work? Yeah, I thought the songs didn't actually work in this because there were only two. There are a lot more in Jungle Book. Yeah. They should have either committed to making it a musical, which they may do, but it with the sequels and what have you, but they didn't, and I don't think the songs actually. And I love Bollywood, so I watch a lot of films with songs in them.
I saw that one film,
and this does not integrate the songs. They didn't feel natural to me. They actually took me out of the film. Another thing I think didn't work.
Can I just relate onto that? I disagree with that completely. I would hate it to have been a complete musical number, like a musical. I think that would have been a really bad choice. I think it was really nice, the fact that it was a movie, but it had those two like those two instances of
Baloo's song when like he broke out into a musical number. It's like his little work
it's like it's singing together. Yeah, I really like that. And then when Louis does do that thing,
his song's kind of like his speech.
Yeah, it was kind of it was a good homage to the original. I really like that.
The songs work, but they weren't performed correctly.
I think that's why the original, the first Jungle Book, no one remembers that in the 1995 when that was made, because like that was treated like a normal film. I think this blended it really well. So I disagree with that. It wasn't overloaded with songs. It wasn't a musical, but it had those two moments that brought a like sense of nostalgia, for us like adults and people older than us as well, who enjoyed the cartoon when they were younger. So it was a nice little.
But wasn't Car in the original one a lot more?
So this is again for me another thing that I just didn't think worked. So a lot of the film was hodgepodge together after screenings. So the songs were something that they added in, and they added Car in as an after the fact as well.
So they weren't going to be in the film.
I don't think that was originally, and they kind of deviated, and so they came back to make it more like the original because I don't know if you're reading this when they announced this film, Warner Brothers announced Jungle Book's origin, which was going to be a straight-laced, no songs, based purely on the books version of the same film. So Disney had to make theirs different because they were both coming out 2016. Obviously, Warner Brothers have now delayed their Jungle Book film, but at the time when they're making these films, they were the same film, same characters, everything. So Disney had to go back.
No one's going to watch that one.
Well, it depends because the cast is huge. I can't off the top of my head, but it's got all eight. Yeah, but it will.
It's going to be like that film, so Finding Nemo, and then they made Shark's Tales and something like that. A little crappy spin-off. That just came out.
Did you watch the films?
I saw Shark's Tale.
And you saw Finding Nemo.
Yeah,
and you're saying they're the same.
No, they're different.
They're
going to be the same film.
I don't know because Shark Tale's about a car wash.
Yeah, but it's still Shark Tale's about
Will Smith in a car wash in the water.
Oh, it's such a terrible film.
It's nothing like Finding Nemo.
I just don't watch but it's the same studio.
No, DreamWorks.
Yeah. It was a DreamWorks.
But I think Finding Nemo came out after. So
no, Finding Nemo came out first.
When did Finding 2003?
I'm sure it came out. I think it came out the same year, didn't they?
No, I think Shark Tale definitely come out after.
Yeah,
because Christina Aguilera done the cover of Car Wash.
Yeah,
I don't know why I know that.
All right. So other things that didn't work. Zigzan.
Okay, for me, I didn't like Idris Elba in the film actually. It was really bad because I love Idris Elba, but
Idris is God.
I thought his Shere Khan wasn't like very terrifying, and it just felt like he was in the studio and just being cool and just talking to him. I didn't feel much emotional depth.
I think he was just meant to be like that calm.
No, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it even when he was talking like at Mowgli, how much he hated him, and for me that didn't really work. Really, the other voice actors were great, but I had a problem with Shere Khan, and because I enjoyed the whole idea of it being sort of like childlike visionary from Mowgli's eyes. I didn't like the scenes when we cut away from Mowgli between the wolves and the tiger, but that's a thematic thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. That's just a thing I didn't enjoy. I would have rather him being the central character.
He was the central
character. No, but we still had those scenes where it's cut. Where we cut away to Shere Khan and the wolves.
Film
and I didn't want to see that
every scene.
I'm not talking about.
No, that's right. That's pretty much what you're saying.
All I'm saying is thematically, I would like the way I saw it is almost like some bits of it even reminded me of a great film, Beasts of the Southern Wind. Beasts of the Southern Wild. I love that film. Yeah, Mowgli's story was enough for me, and I don't think it needed those extra scenes.
You need some of them scenes to get Mowgli's motivation to go back and take revenge.
Yeah, but that could have been done by just an animal coming
from Simba to show his mother.
Yeah, I guess so. It helps. It helps. Because
his motivation for going back is the fact that Shere Khan killed Akira.
But you could have just had someone come and telling him, like you could have someone come in and tell him, like they did in the film anyway, giving him the news.
Yeah, no, but that
copy though, like that was how that. That's another thing that I think kind of worked and didn't work. So the inspirations.
What do you think of Idris Elba?
I think Idris Elba was weak. I didn't. He could have been. He did phone his lines, and that's all he could have, and possibly literally through a phone. He just didn't feel there was no presence. The visually there was. The voice didn't back up the visuals. He could have been. The actor's fine, but just it was too soft, and it didn't.
When he was angry, he did need to have a bit more venom. But I liked the calm, placid talking when he.
The Rock would have been a better Shere Khan than Idris Elba at trying to get that kind of gruff like thing. It just didn't have any weight to it. And I didn't feel threatened. He sounded more like a stalker or something than he's like trying to seduce you with his voice, but he's meant to be trying to be king of the pride. But. I think all the voice
tiger doesn't have a pride. Just
I was a turn of phrase.
Oh, okay.
But the
let's just shout out for the kids out there.
I don't think we're getting any kids, man.
And then the second thing, though, and this is one which will be controversial. What I didn't like, I thought Bill Murray was an extended cameo. And nothing more, nothing less.
Oh, but it was good. Though.
It was good, but he was good. Baloo was such a tack-on aspect. It didn't have. He came in too late.
No, he didn't.
He came in too late. He doesn't appear in the film until the second half, and there's so little character development done for him that when it has this big revelation that he actually likes the boy, we've not even seen anything. It literally jumped from him using the boy, and I like the con artist aspect. It's something from the. From the Disney 60s film, but it didn't really go anywhere. You didn't see their relationship other than the song. I mean, if you cut that song out, it wouldn't. It didn't do it. It didn't convince me that he had grown fond of the boy, and you're just meant to accept it. And I understand you don't need to. There's need to be more, but we just didn't see that, and that's the one thing which it didn't really hate because I know. There are going to be sequels. We can see that relationship grow, but it just wasn't. It didn't sell it to me. And at the end of the day, this is Disney's Jungle Book, not Warner Brothers Jungle Book. The one thing they have that all the other versions of Jungle Book don't have is this relationship between Baloo and Mowgli, but as close as they are, because in the books they're not that close. Although Baloo is in there, but it's not the same relationship. So they could have done, Bagheera is basically his relationship with Mowgli is in the book and with the wolves. But I
thought Ben Kingsley was
good. Ben Kingsley was good. Actually, I said Ben Kingsley would have been a better voice as Shere Khan as well. But
I thought he went well as I can't pronounce the perfect name.
Bagheera.
Yeah, because he's got that wise elder statesman kind of way about him, which is what he's meant to be.
With that, closing thoughts. So, Mako, let's go with you. What are your closing thoughts on the film?
I don't think there's anything wow about it. Yeah, it's entertaining. Well, I can't see anything past that. Yeah. You've hit the nail on the head. They're clearly going to set up for sequels. Yeah. I mean, we walked out the screen before it, but you said there was a post-credits thing.
What about you, Sixan?
I really, really enjoyed this film. I'm not looking forward to sequels because it will, it will just mean this film was part of another group of films. As a standalone film, I think this is really good. There's some great scenes in it. I love the jungle versus nature, how it kept that theme in there, and the way it was done. Like I said, I've never thought Jon Favreau is a great director. I thought he was a good director, but he's proven me wrong this time. I think it's a really good piece of work. I really enjoyed it, and kids and grown-ups will love it. I know that my son went to see it, and he was terrified at some points, but he came out humming some of the theme tunes, and he's still talking about it in days, a few days later, which is a good sign for for a toddler. So it's one of those rare films where it has the right balance of stuff for the kids and stuff for the adults, and I do like. I loved the mood and tone, and I loved the themes. I think it came across great, and the voice acting was great. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's one of my favourite Disney films I've seen in a while. I think it's better than Zootropolis, which was a good film. Not quite Inside Out, but still a good film. Yeah.
I think obviously what's next is there are going to be sequels, but that was always going to be the case because there are loads more stories from the books that haven't been adapted, so it kind of makes sense. A couple of books, isn't there? 2 books, but the way, if you're not familiar with the books, they're actually collections of short stories. I think they have 10 each. So this film's just taken 3 or 4 of them. So there are quite a few more. Obviously, the interaction with the man village, and obviously,
and the red
as
flower. Yeah.
Mowgli grows older, obviously he does become a man. So there's the kind of different. There's more they can do with it, and they kind of set this film up so they can just jump into it. The biggest mistake the original Disney film made was, this was back when the idea of a sequel wasn't something anyone had ever considered. So they ended the film with him going into the village.
Yeah. I was waiting for that Indian girl to turn up with the basket. So I was waiting for that moment.
They didn't want to do that here because obviously that's not even true to the books. So it's but even then it's not true to the book. So if Kipling was alive, he'd probably be like, you've skipped so much story. So yeah, I mean, what's next though for Disney obviously is this is just one of an entire slew of live action remakes. Now, if you're not familiar, Disney have tried to do original films, original stories, things that haven't been remakes. Unfortunately, almost all of them have flopped at the box office. So Disney have kind of been, the shareholders just would rather they adapted Tomorrowland, for example. So which, by the way, is not a bad film. It's a solid, decent film for what it is, and
you've got a big draw.
And Clooney does a good job as the action.
He always does.
Yeah, but and the concept of the alternating worlds and things in that film is just mind-blowing. But nobody went to see the film. So Disney shareholders, at the end of the day, Disney is run by its shareholders. They would rather they just kept remaking stuff in the back catalogue. So this is so because when
I guess that's what they do with all of them, like the Marvel franchise. I think Pixar is the only thing that's bringing out like original material.
The Disney animated films are original.
And Disney animated films are
actually. I'm going to backtrack that. Pixar only do sequels now. Yeah. Inside Out's one original. Good Dinosaur is just an insurance scam, and then so then it's like
What was the one before that? Brave? Was that a sequel?
It's not original though.
It's not original, but nothing's original now. This is done
they took the Scottish people from How to Train Your Dragon, and
it's kind of a spin-off.
Did a Mulan take on it with the Shrek as well. I don't know. It's fine, but it's like Pixar. That's why Pixar is just doing Cars 3.
But that's for the
Toy Story 4. No,
they did another Toy Story film.
Toy Story 4 is in production. Finding Dory, all films. That comes out in a couple of months.
Oh, Pixar, what happened to you?
So I'm saying,
that's what I'm saying. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Pixar, that was original.
Incredibles 2 of all sequels. That one was good.
That's Fantastic Four movie.
So like there are a lot of Pixar have a sequel or 2 sequels planned every year for the next God knows how long. So but Disney's main animation studio, which wisely is detached from all the others, that's pulling out original. And actually,
is that got the Pixar directors and writers on it?
No.
It's doing well.
Yeah, that's doing well.
Zootropolis wasn't totally originally.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah, but it's fun. But that's
a short, like witty film though. It was good. It was a good buddy movie.
It was the same old Disney trap wrapped up in a different package.
Fine, but anyway, that's a separate. That's a separate studio to Pixar. So Disney. Okay, but anyway, listen, guys. So the original. So as we're saying with Disney, obviously it's split up in different teams, different departments. So the live action film department have have been pretty much told you have to just remake old Disney cartoons.
And that's why you're getting Beauty and the Beast.
And that's why next year's big Disney film is Beauty and the Beast. Obviously, the next one is Alice in Wonderland sequel, which actually is the film that started all this. If you don't remember, 2010, Alice in Wonderland with Tim Burton and Johnny Depp became the biggest Disney film of all time before Frozen.
I think it was that good.
It wasn't particularly good, but it wasn't meant to do as well as it did, but it struck a chord. People like the idea of these old films being brought to life. So you have stuff like Maleficent, which has done really well. You had Cinderella, which was kind of went under the radar, but was a very well-made film. The big one though is Beauty and the Beast, which Disney are probably hoping will be the next.
Now Lion King or Little Mermaids.
So Alice in Wonderland's sequel is the next one, and that comes out in a few weeks. And they're obviously hoping that's going to be big. And I think if that film does less than 800 million worldwide, it will be considered a flop.
I don't think it's
just based off of how well the first one did.
I think sometimes I think when you do these movies, that I think this is like a little gem. I think like the Jungle Book. It's one of those little gems inside it.
It's meant to be a franchise, though.
Yeah, but I think just this one by itself. I mean, no, Matrix is a franchise, but they're all crap apart from the first one.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Okay, so I think Jungle Book's a good. I think it was a good addition to this, but I do think Disney risks the reputation of not being original, because I mean, they could have used the budget towards this film to do something original. And it's not like there aren't original ideas out there, they're just not being made. Disney are making bucket loads from Star Wars and from Marvel, but no one's going to see this film, so I guess they need to...
One Star Wars film is enough. Like a Star Wars, you can make like 3 films, disappear for 10 years, making all 3 films. I think they're going to like liquidize.
No, because you've got so much more.
No, it's not, but it's still it's just going to get boring after a while.
Never.
How much stormtroopers and lightsabers can you take?
Yeah, but I will give the Star Wars, the moment people get bored of stormtroopers, they can either go back 60 years and have more clone troopers.
It's like Saving Private Ryan is a great groundbreaking film. It's a great film, yeah. But
which one?
Saving Private Ryan, yeah, is a great film. But would it look so great if there was like 3 World War II movies like released every year? And that's
a left field comparison.
You get a lot of World War II movies.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, but I'm saying like it's like anything of the same thing too much, it gets boring.
But I don't.
It's like the westerns when they just like made so many, like they were just churning them out, and just all that was being released, and people got bored of them.
Yeah, but I think
because at the time that was all that was.
Now comic books, like movies, have been in danger of coming out. A lot of people have been predicting that to happen. It probably still will over the horizon, but it has enough diversity in comic books to cope with that. But Star Wars, it's the same.
No, because there's so many different novels and things that expand that into different places.
Yeah, but can you make
so much of it?
Even Star Trek, when it was coming out, it came out every few years. They weren't making 2-3 Star like they weren't making a Star Trek movie. Wasn't coming out every year.
But they've made a Star Wars film based off a line of dialogue from the original film.
Exactly. Oh, well.
I think that's a brilliant idea.
I think that's not impressive.
How is that not an original idea? You've got a sentence. You've got a line of dialogue there, and you've based a whole movie off it.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Why is that terrible? Why is that a terrible idea?
Because like, if you got like a story of 1,000 words, yeah, a great story, then that's a good idea. Adapt that. If you got something that's like 1 line, you're saying that it's great. I
think it's clever that they've adapted an entire film out of a quote. That's what I'm trying to say. It's clever that they've made a movie out of.
But that's just how they're tying it in. I think they will have more to it than just that. However, I do agree with Kieran, they will run into the ground. But it will be an enjoyable 10 years until they do that.
Don't be silly. Force is stronger.
I think Star Wars, the last one, wasn't it wasn't the film it needed to be the weight for 10 films. However, you know what? Disney know what they're doing. They're making money. We're giving them money. We are, every time we go see one of these films, we're going to be telling them, make more. At the end of the day, we're responsible for making Episode 7 the third biggest film of all time, and it's our own fault. So fuck us.